woman accused of murdering her husband took the stand today in her own defense.
A Missouri rape case that gained national attention is almost over. Here, the victim's response.
And almost 1 million joint replacement surgeries a year. Why that number could soon double. KOMU 8 News at 10 starts now.
From Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 10.
The murder trial of a mid-Missouri woman accused of killing her husband could go to the jury tomorrow. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jim Rick. Thanks for joining us. Today was the third day of the trial. The defense called Plunkett to the witness stand after the prosecution rested its case. Plunkett admitted to killing her husband and former Jefferson City police officer Paul Plunkett on January 1st, 2011. She claimed she shot her husband in self-defense after years of marital abuse. The prosecution challenged, saying she previously told a doctor she had never been a victim of abuse. The prosecution is attempting to prove Plunkett killed her husband to use his life insurance to pay for her drug addiction. Closing arguments start tomorrow morning at 8:30.
2 Jefferson City residents pleaded guilty today on 2 counts of bank fraud for unlawfully received more than $100,000 in student loans under their child's name. Lisa Baker and David Baker admitted that they received 11 student loans in the name of their child without the child's knowledge from July 2005 to September 2007. In 2011, the child of Lisa and David Baker began receiving phone calls from a collection agency claiming payments were not being made on the loans. The Bakers did not help their child pay for any college expenses and admitted they made no payments on the fraudulent student loans. The couple could face up to 60 years in federal prison without parole, plus a fine of up to $2 million.
5 Columbia residents have been charged in a drug plan to distribute more than a ton of marijuana. A federal jury indicted Richard Hunter, Monica Germany, Brian Young, Marlene Allen, and Sherrod Clark. The indictment says all 5 are charged with trying to distribute 2,200 pounds of pot in Boone County over a 3-year period from 2010 to 2013.
A Missouri college student will not face sexual assault charges after a highly publicized rape case. Instead, Matt Barnett pleaded guilty today during a court hearing to a misdemeanor charge of endangering the welfare of a child. Barnett is sentenced to 2 years of probation as punishment and a 4-month suspended jail term. He was accused of raping a then 14-year-old Maryville girl in 2012 when he was 17. The local prosecutor dropped the case because he said the girl's family stopped cooperating. The victim, now 16, attempted suicide earlier this week. Barnett apologized to the girl and her family today after the plea deal was reached.
A Chicago-bound Amtrak train jumped the tracks today near Wood River, Illinois, across the river from St. Louis. The train started the trip in St. Louis. The wheels on the locomotive and a rail car behind it came off the tracks at a junction. There were 106 passengers and 4 crew members on board. They were all taken to Chicago on charter buses. The cause of the switching failure is under investigation. There's no word if weather was a factor. The Columbia Board of Education will meet Monday to talk about choosing a new superintendent. Chris Belcher announced his retirement yesterday after 5 years in Columbia. School Board President Christine King told KOMU 8 News the planning process hasn't started yet. She says Monday's meeting will allow the board to formally accept Belcher's retirement, make a timeline, and figure out how to select a candidate.
I think Columbia Public...
Belcher will leave his position the end of June. King says it's possible he will help the replacement get to know Columbia schools and community leaders before leaving the payroll.
Recent snowstorms and cold weather have left some icy conditions on the roads. The city of Columbia has already used half of its salt supply after less than a month of winter. The demand for salt has been high because of that early winter we've been seeing, and not just here but across the country. That's causing prices to go up. The city is considering mixing in a less expensive option like sand or cinder, or pre-treating the salt to make it stick to the pavement better. Steve Sapp of Columbia Public Works says the best solution is one that money just can't buy. Usually the city buys its salt from a mine in Kansas. It's now looking to buy some from other vendors in eastern parts of the state to get through the rest of the winter. Well, we all woke up to some fresh snow on the ground this morning. Rosie's here to let us know what to expect. He was talking about Mother Nature. Is she going to help us out at all, Rosie?
Brittany, it looks like
the need for joint replacements is rising as our population ages, but what happens when the number of experts doesn't meet the demand? That story's coming up after the break.
Plus, a Florida man tricked his girlfriend. He'll likely spend 10 years in prison.
As the population ages and technology improves, the demand for joint replacements is on the rise. But a Columbia surgeon says soon there may not be enough experts to meet that demand. KOMU8's Patrick Rollins tells us that about the procedure that so many Americans are having these days.
It is a coming onslaught of people.
Joint replacement procedures are not cheap. Hockman estimates it costs between $30,000 and $50,000 after adding up all the costs for the physician, hospital care, physical therapy, and follow-up care.
A 13-year-old California girl who was declared brain dead last month finally received feeding and breathing tubes. The family of Jahi McMath, who suffered complications from tonsil surgery, has been fighting for treatment after doctors declared her brain dead December 12th. According to the family's attorney, doctors inserted 2 tubes. The girl's mother does not believe her daughter is dead and went to court to stop the hospital from removing the ventilator. The son of a doctor returned to court today on charges he tricked his pregnant girlfriend into aborting her fetus. Prosecutors say 29-year-old John Weldon forged a signature on a prescription for a pill that causes abortion. They say he relabeled a pill bottle and told his then girlfriend to take the pills. A plea agreement recommends 14 years in prison. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie finally speaks about a political scandal surrounding his office. His reaction next.
And we'll tell you what the victim of that scandal had to say after meeting with Christie.
New Jersey Governor and possible 2016 presidential contender Chris Christie said today he is embarrassed and humiliated by the political scandal over traffic delays near the George Washington Bridge. That's the bridge that connects New York City with New Jersey. Sullivan Servati has the latest from Washington. Now, as mentioned in that story, today the Fort Lee Mayor Mark Sokolich met with Governor Christie. After the meeting, Sokolich said he appreciated the governor's visit but didn't want to speculate on Christie's involvement. Christie said the two had a productive discussion. The mayor accepted his personal apology for what happened.
For the first time ever, more than half of the current members of Congress are millionaires. That's according to a new report from the nonprofit Center for Responsive Politics. Of the 534 current members of Congress, at least 268 had an average net worth of $1 million or more for 2012. A year ago, that number was 257. Representative Darrell Issa of California remains the wealthiest member of Congress with an average net worth of $464 million in 2012.
We know what happened last night. Tonight, the Tiger women took their turn against the Lady Dogs.
Check out these photos of glow-in-the-dark fish. Now, this is not a lighting trick or some weird kind of genetic engineering experiment. Researchers released these photos as part of a study of naturally glowing fish species. Biologists identified about 180 different varieties of fish that can actually create their own light shows. Pretty cool. Scientists say that animals like corals, jellyfish, butterflies, even a few parrots have also been known to glow in the dark.
I thought that's where that story was going. Nothing better than a little bioluminescence. I love it. Science is so cool. Let's take a quick look as to what's going on here across mid-Missouri. Freezing rain advisory is in effect 5 a.m. until noon tomorrow for 4 of our counties. Guys, things are going to be getting better, though, as temperatures are concerned. It's looking like tomorrow morning, at worst, just below the freezing mark, and then tomorrow afternoon, even though you're going to need that umbrella, looking like top temperatures into the lower middle 40s. Guys, Chris was definitely shaking his head. My
Such a nerd. It's why we love her.
Have a great night.
Good night.
Over my head.